blocking the Trump administration from expanding Florida's Alligator Alcatraz. So that doesn't mean that it's over. It doesn't mean that it's not going to be constructed anymore. It's just it's not going to be expanded anymore. So Alligator Alcatraz, the wonderful, humane institute in which migrants are going to be put in the middle of, surrounded by alligators and pythons and other wonderful swamp creatures, are in the middle. How great. How wonderful. How horrific. How grimdark. How sad and depressing.
The Florida Immigrant Center, dubbed by the administration and many Republicans in Florida Alligator Alcatraz, violates environmental laws. Environmental groups who brought the case assert the facility was built without required impact studies. If successful, Alligator Alcatraz, as it has been called, would be forced to be closed. Our Homeland Security correspondent, Nicole Skanga, has been following this for CBS News all day. Nicole, always great to have you. Catch us up.
Yeah, major environmental groups are asking a judge to essentially shut down this facility, at least temporarily. They've documented— Shut it down. They have documented 20 acres of new asphalt, a new runway that the federal government, in conjunction with Florida, built on this protected marshland, industrial lighting that's visible 15 miles away that they say hurts nocturnal species. But really what lawyers are arguing here are that this is illegal, that the government nixed the mandatory ecological assessments of what the impact was going to be before they actually constructed on this facility, that they're not in compliance with state and federal law, including the National Endangered Species Act, the National Environmental Policy Act. Now, Florida says no environmental harm done. And by the way, this was a state facility before it was a federal facility, so not all of these laws apply to us. But part of the reason the Trump administration chose to build Alligator Alcatraz in the first place is because some of its marshy, swamp-like conditions, what it might not have realized is it's also the habitat for several endangered species, including the Florida panther, Major, and there are only 200 left.
Okay, so look, ever since Alligator Alcatraz was created, or the concept was being promoted, yes, we've all seen the memes and all the funny jokes and everything else. But you have to remember, there's people being sent there. And even during its initial early stages, let's not forget that it was flooded. You know, it doesn't really install confidence. And I understand, hey, look, I think the whole idea of the sanctuary cities and how the Biden-Harris administration and even how Democrats during Trump's first term were opening up this whole idea of sanctuary cities and bringing more people in was a bad idea. It was never handled properly, and people are getting hurt because of the fallout of the last 8 years. And Alligator Alcatraz is one of those many poison pills that we are seeing, and I think it's a bad idea. I think it sets a very dangerous precedent. I don't like it. I think it really is just inhumane. But yet here we are, and the Trump administration has gone all in on it. But I want to, I do have a video. I'll be pausing here and there. I think I'll make the whole screen full screen so all of you can see it. In which one Florida woman was interviewing inmates about her husband who has a heart condition and disappeared in Alligator Alcatraz. But let's play a little bit more of this video.
And there seems to be a fundamental disconnect about what has or hasn't been constructed for this. Tom Homan, if I read the transcripts correctly, was talking to reporters at the White House today and said, we haven't added any asphalt or anything at all. It's just the same thing as we found it. But if I heard you correctly just now, things were added.
Yeah, there was asphalt that was added in addition to tents, trailers. There's concerns about diesel spills, trucks coming in and out, sewage spills, as they sort of expand the capabilities of this facility. Beyond that, there is a separate court case. We talked about it a little bit earlier this week to establish whether or not you can even have a state-run immigration center in the first place. Because as we know, immigration enforcement is a federal responsibility. And so tomorrow is the deadline by which a federal judge said, listen, Florida, ICE, we need to see the agreement that you guys have come to and know who the migrants who are housed at this facility, whose custody they're in, to start to get to the bottom of that legal question. That deadline, Major, is tomorrow.
And very quickly, Nicole, and I'm not sure this is knowable, do we know how many migrants are currently in this facility?
We know
ballpark figure.
It's in the hundreds, Major. We also know that over 100 have been since deported. We're still waiting on the Department of Homeland Security for information on where those migrants were deported to.
Nicole Skanga, as always, brilliant stuff. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well,
now we head to the.
All right. So first of all, let me go ahead and pull this up here because this one's going to be difficult to sit through. Now this is an audio only. It's not in English. It's in Spanish. I think it's really important that we do play it.
Cuéntame, Joel, ¿cuál es la situación que estás pasando hoy?
Mira, de ayer a las 10 de la mañana me dieron la medicina del pie y eso. Supuestamente nos iban a trasladar y nos sacaron de donde estábamos, los dormitorios que estábamos, para el cual 12.
Now, the thing is, everyone's saying, like, well, wait, what if some of these guys are criminals? Okay, still, human dignity, I'm sorry. Look, we are a civil society, or at least supposed to be. But let's not forget that this administration has also rounded up, and other previous administrations have rounded up, innocent people who committed no crime whatsoever.
Y aquí estamos, bueno, ahora fue que pasaron por los medicamentos porque empezamos a gritar. No hay sábano, no hay colcha, no hay vaso, no hay nada. Ahora fue que pasaron los medicamentos y los medicamentos incompletos, el aparato del alma mío no aparece por ninguna parte. Esto es final. Los guardias te sacan, los guardias que no son guardias, te sacan de un dormitorio y después no se cuenta que el dormitorio que tú estabas. ¿Entiendes? No dejan dormir porque es toda la noche como si fuera maldad, gritando, hablando, las mujeres, te tocan cada 5 minutos para que te despiertes. Es una tortura, literalmente.
¿Y los mismos que están haciendo eso son los mismos guardias?
Sí, son guardias que no son guardias.
Que no son guardias.
Los guardias.
No, ya
guardias.
Nosotros lo hemos investigado todo, no son guardias de verdad.
Tienen pinta de tener hasta récord más grande que nadie. Vaya, para que tengas una idea.
¿Han comido?
Bueno, sí, por la mañana sí comimos. Ahora vamos a ver el almuerzo, si no te siguen moviendo, porque ellos te mueven. Está el almuerzo, te movieron, ya no hay almuerzo. Ahí estoy con comer expulsado. Comer expulsado, porque nos llevaron al hospital, nos tienen una placa, supuestamente no íbamos, y entonces expulsado quieren que coma. Expulsado de los pies, la cadena por el medio y las dos manos.
So they're talking about how they've been handcuffed, how they've been denied medicine. The more we dig into this, the more we're going to see how shoddily built this place is. I just see this as just another one of those dystopian facilities that you see from the Outer Limits or the Twilight Zone, and it's happening right before us. I'm shocked that this was even allowed to continue on.
No. Oh my God. Increíble.
No te estoy mintiendo, estoy diciendo toda la verdad.
No, entiendo, y eso es lo que estamos buscando, es toda la verdad, por favor. Esto tiene que salir para la calle hoy. Otra pregunta, entonces, ¿no sabes lo de Marco? ¿Por dónde está Marco?
No,
¿O Marco es el único?
A él se lo dieron por la mañana y ya no sé dónde él. Yo estaba llamando por eso mismo, para saber de él. Porque él inclusive me dio el teléfono para llamarlo a usted. Y ahora sí me preocupo.
So she's asking about her husband, and gentleman saying he's not there.
No está aquí. Espérate un momento. Alberto, ven acá. Mira, te voy a dar otro. Habla aquí te voy a pasar otro compañero de nosotros, que es amigo Marcos también.
¿Cómo está la situación hoy ahí?
Hoy no, esto está igual aquí todos los días. Te cambian cada 5 minutos de celda, te cambian sin las propiedades, no te dejan dormir, los rayos altos, a ellos haciendo bulla, tirando pomo. Te cambian de celda sin la sábana, sin el vaso, sin esto, sin lo otro. Esto es una locura.
Es como una forma de tortura mental, psicológica.
Y las pastillas. Te dicen que tienen que dar medicamentos por la noche y cuando te lo van a dar ya te cambian de set y ya no te lo dan, te metes 2 o 3 días sin tomar la pastilla, la presión de esto, de aquello.
Alberto, una consulta, ¿y no saben por dónde está Marco?
¿Quién?
Marco, mi esposo. ¿No saben?
So she's looking for her husband, Marco, and they don't know.
No sé qué marco es.
El chileno.
¿Chileno?
Sí.
No, yo creo que se lo llevaron aquel día, ¿no? Sí, se lo llevaron y no sabemos, y aquí no lo hemos visto hoy.
No lo han visto.
No sabemos dónde está.
No sabe si fue para el hospital. Es que Marco tiene una condición crítica del corazón y por eso, a través de esa condición, es que se está haciendo todo lo que se está haciendo aquí afuera.
No, está bien. Lo único que esto está mal. Y entonces no te dice que te van a llevar hoy y no te llevan y te tienen para aquí y para allá, que parecemos pelotas.
Ahí mismo, adentro de Alcatraz.
Alligator, Alcatraz. Now, what's going on here? Now, the federal judge has currently, as it stands, issued a preliminary injunction, which means, again, it's preliminary, halting the expansion of the immigration detention center in the Florida Everglades. The injunction stems from a lawsuit filed by environmental groups claiming the facility is harming wildlife. Well, it's also harming humans, too. Native American groups have joined a suit arguing that the center sits on sacred land. And while the facility may continue operating under certain conditions, the judge has ordered that fencing, lighting, and waste facilities installed for the detention center be removed within 60 days. Now, what is clear, or at least what is right now still being called into question, the state will. It's unclear again whether the state of Florida will comply with the ruling, and then where will the detainees be sent. So it's not only that woman who's looking for her husband, Marco, but it's all those other detainees. Where are they going to be sent? Attorneys for the environmental groups, as well as state and federal officials, did not immediately respond to inquiries. Whether the state of Florida will appeal the ruling is also uncertain. So, again, there's a lot of people, at least right now, the facility is designed to hold up 3,000 people in tent-like structures, and it currently holds several hundred detainees. The conditions have been called out in regards for the unsanitary bathrooms, insect infestations, spoiled food. Geez, they make the Mr. Beast Feastables look appetizing. Ugh, I'm sorry, I just had a vomiting head in my... because those Feastables are absolutely gross. And limited medical access. Right now, the big picture, a lot of environmental groups as well as Native American tribes are saying that all of the endangered species in that area are at risk of being affected as more noise, pollution, and construction and dangerous chemicals could systematically poison the environment and lead to many fragile species facing extinction or being removed from the area. And, let's face it, we share the planet with all sorts of wonderful little animals and critters, but also let's take care of our fellow man, even if they did break the law. I mean, we are supposed to be a air quote unquote civil society here. Witnesses testified that 20 acres of asphalt had already been added, creating risk of runoff, pollution, and habitat loss for many species, including, the reptiles, insects, birds, and even mammals like the Florida panther, which I did not know was a certain subspecies. But hey, the Florida panther, isn't that cute? But however, the state has also said that they did not consider alternative locations, which means wherever those migrants that are being held in that facility, they could go all over the state of Florida or is it outside the state. So that means any family members trying to keep an eye on their loved ones and relatives are going to have to be playing the Where's Waldo game, which is absolutely horrific. And we had one viewer in particular, Cowboy Kitty, whose own sister-in-law was taken in by ICE in Ohio, and they are still trying to get her free even as we speak. And that's a nightmare to go through. I only can imagine what, again, just to be clear, there have been instances in which innocent people have been detained. We've seen it with ICE. We've seen it before with immigration. And however which way you feel about Alligator Alcatraz, I mean, it was set up, shoddily built, and if the people in there are being treated in subpar conditions, bounds of reason, shut the thing down. The name itself is horrific. The actions itself is horrific. I don't wish this on anybody. Why are we in an episode of Black Mirror? Where did the timeline go wrong?